Hello, welcome back to Simon's Rants. I'm Simon, and today I'm giving my on-second thought on How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the 2001 starring Jim Carrey and directed by Ron Howard. This part of the video, I normally give a spoiler warning, and I am going to be talking about plot points of this movie that could be classified as spoilers, but if you haven't seen The Grinch, and you don't know the plot of this movie, I don't want to know you. So, take it or leave it. I'm talking about The Grinch. So yeah, in case you don't know the plot of this movie, leave now, but I will explain the plot anyway. So The Grinch, obviously, he is not a who, he's more of a what, who lives up on Mount Crumpet. He hates the Who's, who live in a constant Christmas frenzy, and they love cheer, but he does not. He doesn't like them, he doesn't like the Christmas cheer, he doesn't like all of their positivity, because he finds it hypocritical. And so he judges them, and he wants to then steal Christmas from them to see them actually break out of this hypocrisy and suffer a little bit as he has suffered. Now, if that doesn't sound quite accurate to what you're thinking the plot of The Grinch is, that is accurate to the live action one. It's not very accurate to the original animated one, though. This movie doesn't quite understand, I don't think, the purpose behind The Grinch, because The Grinch didn't necessarily hate Christmas. He didn't necessarily hate the Who's even. If you look at the original book and the original animated short, I don't think he actually, although it says he hated the Who's, I don't think he necessarily hated the Who's. I don't think he necessarily hated Christmas. I think he hated the noise. I think he was not a fan of the Who's. I don't think he wanted to be around people. I think he wanted his peace and quiet. I think he wanted to be alone. I think he preferred that. For whatever reason, it's not necessarily given. He's not a Who, he's a Grinch. He's a separate thing, he's doing his own thing, and he wants to be left alone. That's kind of his MO. In this, they give him so many reasons to actually hate the Who's. And the problem with that is, they're valid reasons, and you kind of hate the Who's too. So if you look at the original short, on Christmas Eve is when all the Who's set up their Christmas decorations, and they all are singing and dancing in preparation for the next morning when they will all gather together and sing again and then have their feast. In no way are they commercialized. In no way are they overdoing the holiday, because they have made it about that actual day. And the night before, the day before, whatever you want to say, it's Christmas Eve, Christmas, and then as far as we know, they're done with it. And at no point are the Who's materialistic, because the whole point is when the stuff gets taken away, they all come out and sing anyway. That's the turning point. That's the lesson learned, is he hates the idea of them. He doesn't actually know them. He doesn't have any real reason to hate them, because he just hates the noise. He hates the occasion. Then he sees that they actually aren't materialistic like he thinks they are, and so then he has a change of heart due to that. In this movie, the Who's are materialistic. They have a overbearing idea of what the holiday's supposed to be, because they have competitions with the lights and everything is just crazy. It's essentially a commentary on commercial America, and it's obnoxious because, yeah, the Who's all suck, and in a lot of ways the Grinch is right about everything. Now, he's not perfect, but he's better or as good as the Who's are. Now, there's a lot of problems with that, because you've designed this Grinch character to be disgusting and horrible, but he's the one that's right about this issue. And then these Who's are supposed to be all fun and happy because they represent Christmas, but then they're horrible, disgusting people. All of them, except Cindy Lou who for some reason in this version has become a main character. She's not a main character, she doesn't have enough character to be one, so they have to write a new character for her. Along those lines, they also have to do, as they feel at least, the same sort of thing with the Grinch, because he didn't have enough of a personality, he didn't have enough of a backstory, which is true, so they gave him one. And when I say it's true that he didn't have much of one or enough of one, it's because he didn't have one. But that's fine, he didn't need one, but they thought that they had to give him one because they needed to make the movie 100 minutes. You have to stretch it out from 15, 20, 25, whatever it was, to 100 minutes. It's so unnecessary and so bogged down. A lot of people have talked about the Grinch with Benadryl Cumberbottoms and called him the millennial Grinch, which that's not true. He is the epitome of a Gen Z Grinch, because he thinks he's edgy, he he thinks he's hashtag relatable, but there's nothing of any substance to his character. He's just, man, I hate people. This one is the epitome of everything that is millennial humor, because he's random, he's odd, he's talking to himself, he hates himself, he's borderline suicidal and depressed. There's so many great relatable things about this movie because he is just an odd, strange character. Now, you could argue that completely ruins the character of the Grinch, and I may agree with you, but I just have to choose to detach from that original stoic performance from the original animated short, and I do accept the Jim Carrey version because it is funny, and even though they quote-unquote ruin the character, it is an enjoyable ruining of the character. You have to kind of divorce the two characters, say that they're two different things, but it makes it enjoyable. Along that same line, Cindy Lou Who is somewhat enjoyable. Taylor Momsen is very cute in this movie. She's got a very infectious attitude. She's like the pinnacle child actress girl. Like, she's just bubbly and perfect for this role. So even though the Cindy Lou Who character in the original one was simply a plot device, they tried to make her into a more fleshed out character who had motives and personality, and it actually kind of worked. I say that I'm mad about her being a main character in this one when she wasn't in the other one, simply because that has become the new norm and the trend, because you see in the new Grinch one with Benadryl Cumbersome, once again, she is a step beyond. You have to take what they did to make her a character in this one and then go another step beyond that, and that's just annoying. So I look at this as the first step in a bad direction. Even though the first step isn't necessarily bad, it led to a bad thing. And the same thing with the Jim Carrey Grinch character. Because he's Jim Carrey, he's enjoyable, because he's so funny, because he's so relatable, and because he's just so entertaining. But taking the character that they created with him and then replacing him with somebody as lifeless and boring and unfunny as Benedict Cumberbatch, it just ruins the character even more than you could argue this one did. This movie didn't really do a single thing right. Honestly, it didn't. But it's still entertaining in its own right. Honestly, I hate half the movie, and I kind of love half the movie. And I will watch it every once in a while. I watched it last year and had a very bad experience making a drunk review of it, but I have watched it and enjoyed it. I don't know when I'll watch it next because it's not an every year thing for me, but it is enjoyable in its own way. Is it a good movie? Definitely not. But honestly, with all Christmas movies, you lower the bar, because unless it's A Wonderful Life or A Christmas Carol, for the most part, Christmas movies aren't actually good. So to be a good Christmas movie isn't the same thing to be a good movie, period. And so this movie, if I was ranking it on a normal movie scale, I would probably give it a 4 or a 5, but because it's a Christmas movie, I kind of bump it up the scale to like a 6. Still not great, but I will, during Christmas time, enjoy it more than I won't, but barely. Because, yeah, the flashbacks with the Grinch as a baby are unbearable. They're not funny, they're not needed, they add no extra context to the story. It's so unnecessary. The point of the scenes was to show why he hated the Who's. First of all, we didn't need to know that, and second of all, it could have been summed up in a sentence of, he is jealous of the mayor. That's all you had to say. But then, of course, you have to add in that stupid, annoying love triangle with him and Martha May Who and the mayor, and it's just like, none of this is important. None of this is entertaining. None of this is enjoyable. I don't know. It's not a good movie. It's not. It feels like it completely misunderstood the meaning of the original. It doesn't represent the original correctly in any way of any of the characters in any sort. The comedy is a completely different feel. It's obviously going from a Dr. Seuss Looney Tunes feel to whatever the hell Ron Howard was on at the time. Cocaine, maybe. It's just not the same. And it's not trying to be, I don't think. And some of it works pretty well, because if you like Jim Carrey and you think he's funny, as you know, he cannot go a whole movie without being funny at least a couple of times. And this movie is far from his least funny movie. He's been less funny than he was in this. But it just, a lot of it feels insulting in some ways. So I guess it just comes down to, how attached are you to the original short? Do you want to keep that sacred? If so, you probably don't want to watch this. But if you enjoy that but can detach that and enjoy this on its own, you may. Not saying for sure, but you may. There's a higher chance that you'll like this one than the Bombo-Clack Curly Toes one. But anyway, that's what I thought. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also, I do, like I said, have the drunk review of it. So go ahead and click it. The camera's reversed. I don't know, man. There's a link up there. There's also going to be one in the description, I'm sure. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Simon from Simon's Rants. Bye. Oh, Merry Christmas. I should probably say that too.